see if we got it on. See, we got it on.
Oh, Lordy.
Oh man, I bet you can't wait to get back in the seat, dude.
Yeah, it's been way too long. Especially now that we changed so much on the car. I'm excited to see what it's like.
All right, we are live. Let's share this baby.
Share.
Share away.
Sharon.
Questions. Share group. All right, let's get sharing this baby. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Yeah, I definitely need this week off, dude.
I know I'm somewhat not looking forward to 4 weeks in a row.
It's not the racing part. It's not the money part. It's the washing the car.
Yeah, it's the after or before work in the
Right,
shop deal. Yeah. Yeah. At least if it's the same track, you don't have to change gears.
right. Let's see. Right there, right there. Yeah, dude, I'm pretty bad about. All right, got to get a watch on Sunday. I've been bad about it, dude. I didn't watch till like Wednesday.
Been there before.
Uh, hold on, almost done. All right, let's get some people in here. We'll do a countdown,
Yeah.
and we do have a special guest, guys. We're gonna do a recap. Well, first we're gonna do our countdown. Excuse you, sir.
Ooh, sorry. I'm
Of
allergic
course,
to
we're gonna
you.
do. Yeah, we're gonna do our countdown, our recap, and get straight into our guests. If you've got questions, man, comment them, send them in. This gentleman will me definitely answer them for you. Let's see there. Almost done, bro. Got a lot of pages.
Yeah.
Turn your phone down.
Sorry.
All right, let's get that there. Let's get this open. Oh, do that open. Give it a couple minutes, and we'll do the countdown. All right. All right. What's going on, Steve?
See. Yeah, I need to get where I can see who's in here.
Yeah, I'm just seeing him on my phone.
Gotcha.
All right, let's do a countdown, man, and we'll get on with our business.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. Let's get this thing going.
Damn, why does that keep doing that?
All right, here we go. All right, guys, welcome back. Let's Go Carl podcast. I am Big Carl.
You are?
I'm out, Carl. Sorry.
I'm Big Carl. Oh boy,
um,
he was reading.
yeah, sorry, I was reading, trying to do whatever I got to do. It's definitely going to be an interesting show. It's going to be a good show. We're going to do a couple recaps, man. We have been off for about 2 weeks. Uh, we did a couple races at VSP. Um, definitely had some solid runs this year. Definitely had a couple. We've been a top five car all year. Um, been a top three car, really, to be honest. We just can't get the W, man. It's right there at our grabs, but we can never just get to it, man. And as a driver, Josh, it's really like you hate to complain about running second, third, or fifth. You hate to complain about it, man. But it's the point where it's all right, man. I need a win just so I
Mm.
feel the relief, so you can get the win for your sponsors, win for your team.
Yeah,
Definitely
it gets old
through,
after a while with running second and third and being so close but not being able to cap it off.
and people are like, "Oh man, congratulations!" It's like, yeah, but what could I done better to beat that guy? You know what I'm saying? And it's just
Mhm.
just the way it is, man. And Volusia definitely drove a curveball at you. Track's not always the same, but it is the same sometimes. You understand what I'm saying? Like last time it poured down there and it stayed wet the whole time. Then
Must
this
have been
past
pretty
time,
fast if it was wet the whole time.
it
Nice and
the
tacky
the
more towards the end of it.
yeah, but the lap times were way off. We normally run about low 18s, high 17s, and we weren't even breaking like 19s.
Hmm.
Yeah. The last time I kind of just sucked in practice. I sucked in a heat race. Um, I came in after the heat race, and I was, excuse me, and I would just need to throw the kitchen sink at, to be honest, because I was basically 2/10 off of Austin Lehman. And Josh can tell you, Austin Lehman definitely put a spanking on all of us in that heat race.
Oh yeah.
So let me send it. I got to send another invite to our guest real quick.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, looked like he logged out. Um, so Josh, what do you got going on, man? I know you got a couple things coming up. Uh, Tell me
Yeah,
about it.
we got the battle at the Bay coming up this next weekend. Practice on Friday night, 2 nights of racing Saturday and Sunday night. Not 100% what the format is going to be. I originally thought it was going to be just heat races on Saturday night. Sounds like that's going to be the case for the late models, but I guess we're going to have a race that pays 700 to win on Friday night, and then 1500 to win on Saturday night, and then 1500 to win on Sunday night, which would be really good for us. Although it's not a points race for the Cruiser Street stocks, so between that and the minimal payout, I'm afraid of how many cars are not going to show up, being that it's not a points race and it's not really a giant money. It's a good money race, don't get me wrong, but you know it, we just had one for 9,000, and there was a lot of cars we didn't get for that. So for 1,500, I don't know how many cars we're going to get.
Right. I mean, that's kind of like everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they put the money up, and half the time, dude, we're racing just for, hey, we won here.
Hmm.
What is your expectations, man? What is your goal for next weekend?
Uh, Goal is to make the race after what happened at the Gary and D Game Memorial. Although depending on how many cars show up, that's either going to be very doable or going to be very hard. I don't know. Being that I seen it was a non-points race, I think there's going to be less cars than I originally expected. So I'm hoping we'll be able to get in the field. After scaling the car out yesterday with John Bradley, I think I'm looking, really positively at this weekend. We found a couple more issues and got the numbers where he wanted them at. And I think we're going to be really good out of the gate. We got practice on Friday night to dial the car in. I got some things that I want to throw at it just to try, and I think we'll be really good, a lot better than we were with the rear end bound up at the last race. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense why the car has been acting the way it has for the last couple races.
Yeah, when you change five things and nothing changes the car at all, that's when you start to realize there's something bigger going on here.
Right. Um, what's the story behind the hood scoop? Let's get on that again. Yeah, you guys definitely made the internet go crazy with that hood scoop.
Man, it's like Dad said, it's just to get people talking mainly. Get people looking at that. Uh, there's there's a little bit of science behind it with car being sideways. Hood scoop should be a little sideways because there's a slope portion and there's a flat portion. But maybe we went a little too far. But if you look at the new car on the new body on the number 10 street stock owned by Paul Davis. I believe his grandson Gage just finished that body up, and it looks sharp. It's also got the hood scoop slanted a little bit. So you're seeing it more and more now than ever, for sure.
Right. We're just waiting for our guest to get back in. He lost internet connection. Josh, what is what is your big plans? You know, of course, you got the this big race coming up. When do you try to venture more away from East Bay? What is your plan after East Bay?
Well, the original plan was after this race to try to make it up to All Tech to shake the car down, get it ready for next year's King of the Streets. But with the fact that we now race 4 weeks in a row, that's going to be a lot more difficult to get up there. And then I was hoping that we could go up there after the season ends at East Bay because it ends very early this year. But Alltech seems to take November off, and then they have one race scheduled in December, and I think they only have one or two races scheduled in October. So it's gonna be hard to make it up there. So if we don't, then it'll just be a matter of taking some more time to go through the car again and get it ready for the Jim Morgan Memorial down at Hendry County. Um, and then really, after that, just gonna try to mainly focus on Hendry County and All Tech at first. Those are the two places with the big races. We've got the Swamp Cabbage coming up early next year, and then right around the same time we have the King of the Streets again. I believe both of those races are paying 10,000 to win next year, so gonna try to focus on them as much as I can while taking some time to make sure we keep the car maintained a little better than I have been, and just after the King of the Streets, I don't know. Maybe we'll try to get up to Bubba's if they ever reschedule the Winter Nationals again. Depending on when that comes, we might try to go to that. Maybe try to go up to North Florida, and we'll see what happens from there. I'd like to get up to Needmore eventually, but I don't know for sure when we'll be able to do that.
Right. And to jump off this topic, man, I actually watched the NASCAR race yesterday. Um, it was an okay race, pretty good racing. Let's talk about the safety of these new cars, man. Uh, Barry, when he took his little flip, not little flip, but it was a pretty bad flip.
Well, it was only
Um,
one flip, but yeah,
Now go back 5 years. If he would have slid on his roof like that, 9 times out of 10, that roof would have collapsed.
yeah. I mean, we seen Newman in the old car. He wrecked pretty hard, but if I remember right, it did collapse a little bit. The main thing that I was worried about with this Barry wreck was that front impact, how fast he was headed towards that inside wall on his roof with nothing to really slow him down. I mean, the friction's got to be very low between sheet metal and gravel, and then or asphalt, and then you don't have the brakes to slow the car down. I looked at Dad as he was sliding, and said, "That's gonna hurt," and he hit it and started spinning like a top, and you know at first they kind of panned away from the wreck, which kind of scared us a little bit, and then they surrounded it with the AMR safety team, and but they never really took the camera off, so you knew okay he's probably all right. And they finally got the car flipped over, got him out. Which I don't know if you've seen the way they did it, was actually pretty cool. Instead of grabbing the car
Yes,
on the bottom, tipping it over, they was able to rotate it in place.
right. And man, the thing that really got me is it wasn't the flip, man. It was the impact of him being on his roof. You know, as a driver, you try to tighten them seatbelts tight as you can, but no, as you race, they loosen up just a little bit.
Yeah,
And when you're sliding like that on your roof, you were literally hanging from your straps.
yeah,
That's the main scary thing. And as he said after he got out, man, it looked worse than it felt.
right. Which
Uh,
is the case to most crashes these days, thankfully. But,
right. So, Josh, you got anything before we jump into our special guest?
uh, nothing really that's urgent. I mean, to kind of just finish off the Daytona thing, we did see NASCAR implement that right side shark fin, and I don't know if it was that, but something saved Michael McDowell from going from a ride because that car come up, and I thought for sure he was about to clear the catch fence, and it sat right back down. So I guess they are making some improvements, which is good to see. That wreck definitely could have been a lot worse than it ended up being. So good to see NASCAR's getting that figured out.
10-4. All right, man. Let's guys, this is Anthony Tate from VSP. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing good. Appreciate you guys having me on. Hope everyone's having a great Sunday afternoon.
And we
Awesome,
appreciate
man.
you coming on, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the internet sucks sometimes, man. It's hard to get on here.
Hey, it's
Uh,
just one of those deals sometimes.
so I'm gonna hand you off to Josh. He's gonna get you these questions, man, and I'll get these comments going.
Well,
Yes.
I appreciate it. First, I just got to say, for all the listeners, watchers, just a huge congratulations to the Little League Lake Mary's team. They've done a great job representing not only our state but our country, especially today, in battling out for the Little League World Series. So, shout out to those guys. It's a fun time. If anyone has ever had the opportunity to go to that event, it is certainly a bucket list event and really cool to watch and kind of feel a part of that here as we're located in Central Florida.
Heck yeah.
All righty. So I gotta say, most of our questions are race car driver related, so you kind of threw me for a loop here, but I think we got some good ones for you.
Well, I
So the
appreciate
first
it.
one, how long have you been with Volusia?
Yeah, it's I've been down here in Central Florida with World Racing Group and Volusia Speedway Park just over 2.5 years now, and it seems like just yesterday we were packing up the U-Haul and coming down here, but it's been good.
So you came from World Racing Group down here, or you started with World Racing Group when you started here?
No, Josh, I came from NASCAR, so
Okay.
um, I was in the Mid Atlantic region where that's Darlington Raceway, Richmond Raceway, and also Martinsville Speedway. So I was in the operations ticketing side there, and through a couple conversations, found the opportunity to come down to Volusia and really um, have be part of a much larger cause and what we're doing. And for me personally, it was a great opportunity to not only grow and try something different, but also kind of get back to my roots a little bit.
Okay, nice. And so how did you get involved in the sport of racing?
Well, it's I think as you guys know, it starts on Friday and Saturday nights going to the local dirt track. Just like you guys, I grew up going to Williams Grove, Port Royal. I'm originally from Central Pennsylvania, and
Wow.
it was amazing when the Outlaws came to town. Right, that was the show. That's what you wanted to go see your stars. Going in the pits, I'll never forget. Getting that autograph from Sammy Swindell or Steve Kinzer, just guys that I idolized growing up. And then, that carried over. My older brother and I, he was the go kart driver. At that time, I was a better tire changer and tire cleaner. Uh, but just going and following that, following your favorite driver, getting attached to it. Obviously, racing is a family deal. You can't do it without family, and so through that we were able to go to the go-kart track. And even today, I know you guys were talking about the flip Saturday night at Daytona. My nephew, he races go-karts in Central Pennsylvania. He just had his first flip. So just that tradition going on, and just being a family sport really is what got it started for us.
Okay, so started off as a fan and then worked your way into the role you're into now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about. I think from a driver's seat, sometimes, right? I had no idea growing up that you could make a living at the racetrack.
Hmm.
There's a lot of sports and a lot of entertainment options out there, and so being able to, once I got into school, I took a different path going into university, playing football and doing that. But once I started to find out what some of those opportunities were, it kind of was like, man, this would be really cool to be able to do something I love and also share it with family and friends. And, just being at the racetrack is a good time.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's see. So how did you get into being the manager? I think you covered that a little bit, but uh, tell us about your rise to being GM at Volusia.
I think you guys know that there's never a clear set path, right?
Mm.
And so it came about through a number of conversations. It was I actually had applied for a different role within World Racing Group, and just again through those conversations, talking with the team, learning more and more about it, and just being open. There's a lot of times where not having a view to go explore and do different things and challenge yourself in different ways, you can miss out on a lot of opportunities. So I was really open to the idea. I was really open to learning. And just again, through conversations, it worked out where, I was Brian Carter and myself and Jeff Hockman, and at the time, Gina Frenzy was there. And it just kind of clicked with what they wanted in this seat as they were going through the hiring process. But really, as in anything, it was opportunity after opportunity that gave me the ability to gain the experience collectively to be able to put everything together. Right? You're never going to be an expert day one, but you're going to be able to learn and figure out how to do it. Um, but just again, having that openness, that mindset to continue to learn and challenge yourself really helped.
Awesome. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, did you ever want to race, or you kind of took in that role of being the tire guy and ran with that?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to. It just didn't make sense. Like I took a different path. Like I said, I was committed to my craft and football. Playing college, going through high school, changing high schools in the beginning, and then playing college ball is it's a full-time job, just like everything, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys spend a lot of time on your cars making sure that they're right for Saturday nights, Friday nights, whatever that might be. But yeah, I mean, I love the race. I actually did get to race. We have a couple go-karts at the track, and it was fun. I got to get in one, compete. I didn't do very well, but it's fun to be out there. And I think also I give you guys a lot of credit because I don't know if today where how I would feel about getting in a race car and going 100 some miles an hour and trying to turn right going left. I just don't know if how that would work for me. I'm sure I'd be fine, but yeah, between finances and doing different things, I just didn't take that path, but I certainly enjoyed every moment going to the racetrack and following along, like I said, my drivers and seeing some of the best racing in Central Pennsylvania was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can tell you certainly saved yourself a lot of money by not being the driver.
I believe it. I believe it.
So, did y'all ever have the like the 2-seater rides at Volusia? Did you ever do any of that?
Well, we've talked a little bit about it, and as over the years, I believe it was here at one time. I haven't had it back down here, but the conversation is always open. Right there, they do have the late model 2-seater. I know this past weekend in Ohio, uh, the late model was up there with the 2-seater. So yeah, I think eventually we'll get there. But also, it's so interesting state to state, across the country. In policies and procedures are so different sometimes, and so sometimes you got to take a look at the whole view of all of that.
I imagine getting the insurance for that's not very easy either.
Exactly.
So take us through when there's no racing going on. What's it like being at what's a non-racing week like for Volusia?
Well, yeah, I mean the non-race week is our opportunity, one, to catch our breath, right? Coming off of a race weekend, tidy everything up, make sure that we have our ducks in a row, so that way we're prepared for the next race weekend. But it gives us also a little bit of a breather. It's a long year. We're fortunate to have one of the nicest and best facilities in the country, for not only our fans but also for our drivers, and so that's high importance for us to make sure that we can continue to grow that product offering for everybody. So we're constantly looking we constantly have one eye on today and then another eye on tomorrow and down the road. So, but I'm doing a lot of the same things like this, finding new opportunities, finding new ways to engage with fans, tell our story, what we're doing, trying to find out also new partnership opportunities, what makes sense. I had a conversation over the weekend where, someone's just passionate about three-quarter modified racing and thunderstock racing, and they want to be involved in it. So a lot of it is just continuing to have those conversations to better our local short track racing in the state of Florida. But then also, like I said, looking down the road, we're getting ready for the next one. We're fortunate, like I said, we can race all year long. It's a long season, and so we're talking with our staff, talking with our race director, talking with the tech guys, constantly finding out where we can go to and talk to on how we can get better in that department. Talking with different vendors. I talk with our vendors and partners probably three times a month just to make sure that everything's good. Because you never know when the Pepsi order is going to get stuck somewhere and you're going to be out of water on a Saturday night. So, just having those conversations and making sure that we are prepared the best that we can be to welcome our fans, welcome our drivers, and have a great Saturday night when the weather allows us.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's a lot that you wouldn't think there'd be much going on at a racetrack or for a racetrack when they're not racing that week. But it sounds like you stay very busy.
Well, and again, Josh, everywhere is different. There's some tracks that close up for the summertime. There's some tracks that don't have a true support staff. Sometimes there's 1-2 people at the racetrack that do it all. So, and then on Saturday night, friends, family come help out. We're so blessed that we have World Racing Group to help us in every asset of what we do, from our website to our scoring and competition to our rules to just having that support. I've seen some tracks in Ohio that don't have the support, and you know what? Cutting the grass isn't the biggest priority for them, and making sure the facility's clean. So there's a lot of things that go on, but just to give you an insight, like I said, we always got one eye on today and another one on the future and how we can get better.
All right, so now the opposite side of that, what's a racing week like?
A little bit of the same, making sure that, talking to, if we're running a promotion that week, talking to that group, making sure that they're set with what they need. If we need to order food in the suite, we'll do that. And then talking to our drivers too. I think that's a really big piece that sometimes gets forgotten. I talk to our drivers, our local group, a lot, and I'm working right now to try and figure out a structure of how moving forward we can have a drivers council. We can have a collaborative group effort where everybody's kind of pulling the same rope on the same page. There's much more transparency because that's been asked, and drivers want that, and you guys deserve it. I think there's no doubt about it, because there are a lot of things that may go unquestioned. You have questions that might go unanswered. So I talk a lot with our drivers and the ones that that I feel have good input from not only the positives, but they also share some of the negatives that we have going on. And that's really important to get that feedback. But race week, making sure that we have everything ready to go, staffing, on a race night, we'll bring in anywhere from 30 to 40 volunteer part-time staff. That is absolutely amazing. We have some great staff members. They come out and work at the racetrack because they love to be there. And so just making sure that, we have all of our ducks in a row. Michelle does a great job in the office. I'm sure you guys have talked to her. And I do got to say also on race week and prior to me coming and joining World Racing Group, the staff that laid the foundation ahead of me, before me, did an amazing job. We're so fortunate to have this facility, this opportunity to have local racing in all year long. And this is John Allen, this is Tom Whipple. Candace was involved for a little bit. There's some really, really good people that have made their mark on the racetrack and the facility. And I can't, sit here and say I take all the credit, because I certainly don't. But there's a lot of really, really important people that helped pave the way to let us enjoy what we love to do on Saturday nights, and that's go racing.
Yep. All right. So what's the race day like for you as a general manager?
Yeah, it's we'll start getting some staff in the morning. I think one of the areas that we do a really good job is in the customer service area. Right, there's a lot of fans who call in. There's a lot of people who have questions. And also just make sure we're racing. Right, sometimes on a Saturday night, weather might look 50% chance of rain. Just having that transparency with everybody and keeping people in the know. But I normally arrive mid-morning. I'll get there, check in, do a drive around, make sure that nothing's really standing out that looks out of place. Make sure all the banners are, like I said, banners are tight, trash cans are up. I'll walk through all the bathrooms to make sure that all the toilet paper is there. There's plenty of soap. It's clean. I'll walk around, check in with our vendors. We have some food vendors that come in, so make sure that they have what they need. And then, really we'll do one of the things that was really important to me when I got here is, and a concern was, we didn't have concessions. We had food trucks. And so it was really important for me to have a affordable option menu, where we have hot dogs, hamburgers. It's not the best. I'll tell you that. It's not, you're not going to the Daytona International where there's thousands of offerings, right? But that's by design. It makes our lives a little bit easier, because you never know when it's going to rain out, when you're not going to be able to race, and buying all that product, it goes bad, So doing that, make sure that we're set up there. And then really we have a staff meal. Everyone has an opportunity to come sit down, get in early around 3:00, have a bite to eat, have a drink, get hydrated, get ready to go. And then we'll part ways with everyone. And everyone goes to their designated areas. We'll do on Thursdays, we have a team meeting with our kind of race director, our tech area. We'll have our announcer on there, our PR guy. So that way, Larry, the track maintenance, that way everyone knows what's going on. And if there's something special that's coming up that night, we try.
Oh, I think we're having a little connectivity issue here.
Just a little bit.
Well,
Hopefully we'll get him back.
yeah, he's frozen now. But
oh, I can say this too, man. There is nothing better than going to eat a cheeseburger at any dirt track.
yeah, it's one of them things that you grew up on. I think we got him back here.
Yeah. We got you back, Anthony.
And I think, yes. And I think,
right.
too, on race nights too, and you never know what's really going to happen, right? So like last Saturday, we had a patron fall over in the grandstands, and we were able to address that situation, get him and his family the proper help that was needed. And so being able to, for me, mentally prepare myself and go kind of through a checklist, so that way I have I'm ready to go for any scenario.
Yeah, and I got to say, I don't envy you on having to make the call to cancel a race or not for rain. Because no matter what you do, somebody's going to be upset about it.
Well, and
listen,
and I go ahead.
I could say this. Anthony definitely does work his butt off. I give him that, man. Especially during the Sunshine Nationals, we had a shit ton of rain come through, and About 10 o'clock, I woke up, go work on the car, and this man's out there in a street sweeper cleaning up all of our pit stalls. And I don't know how many track owners or GMs I see do that. I don't see that very often.
Ooh.
Well, I think the big thing, and I appreciate it, Brandon. The big thing is we take a lot of pride in what we do, and I think if there's one message I can push to everybody tonight is remember that not everybody is full time on a weekly racing show. A lot of these folks are volunteers. They're friends of the racetrack. They've come, some of them an hour and a half drive away to make $12.50 an hour, and the respect that they get from the drivers sometimes I think is forgotten. And, I tell people this all the time. If you're not happy, Highway 40 goes east and west. Matter of fact, I think I told you that, Brandon. We had a little disgruntlement one time, but this place is supposed to be fun. And if you're not happy, racing is racing. You're going to bump, you're going to hit each other every once in a while. We're all human. There's not, we're not perfect. We're probably going to make a bad call every once in a while, but we do our best to make sure everyone has a fair and equal opportunity to go out and win. We're not racing for millions of dollars. And so sometimes it is forgotten that the respect level and that these folks are not full-time employees and that they do have a family. They do have, children of their own. And I just hope and pray that every day we can remember that when we come to the racetrack, because we never know when a racetrack's going to close up, right? So we got to take care of what we got and make sure that we foster and nurture those who are helping and surrounding our playground.
So is there anything else that people don't know that happens behind the scenes that you'd like them to know about? Maybe something to get them to better understand the stresses and everything that you're on, or maybe not the stresses, but the nerves you get from the race day.
Yeah. I think, Josh, it's about a lot of phone calls, a lot of late hours, a lot of weird hours. But I think also, just the preparation that takes place. I go over our safety and emergency plan every Thursday morning. Just in the case, right? We all know Highway 40 is a trap. It is brutal.
And I-4 is a nightmare.
Yes. And, I think it was Friday night, actually, we had a pedestrian try and pass, or a driver pass again and flipped and came within landing of about 10 feet from the marquee in the front. So, just being prepared, having those relationships with the county, with our vendors, with our partners, a lot of phone calls that go on. And then also talking with the drivers, getting input is really important for me. Again, I'm not from here, and I try very hard to understand what's going on and where I can help. Like I said, we have a great team, and everyone's got different ideas and different things, different ways of doing things. And so my job at the end of the day is really to bring a collaborative group together, find out the best solution, and then find out what we, put that in action, put that solution in action. Like I said, I'd love to have more food in the concession stand all year long, but there's challenges up and down the board. But that's what really motivates me to continue to have take a lot of pride in what we do, and also have a great facility. With all the improvements that we go on, I don't think that might get overlooked a little bit, right? We've improved and put a ton of money into this place, into Volusia Speedway Park over the last 4 years, 5 years. New grandstand seating, new lighting, new speakers throughout the facility, safety improvements, and those are things that are really important. And it takes a lot of planning. It just doesn't just happen. You wake up on a Tuesday and you get a new fence up on a Friday. There's a lot of planning that happens in that, and a lot of people. And and we just want to make it the best and fan friendliest, driver friendliest facility that we can possibly have um, in the state.
Yeah.
So,
And so we've seen Volusia transition a couple times, but is it going to stay dirt from now on, you think, or is the asphalt conversation coming up at all?
It has not come up, and I was really excited when I first took the job. Like, we had the SRX program taken off. ESPN did a great job sharing that on TV, and there was kind of an appetite to get some asphalt or some stock cars, some different kinds of cars on the track. I have conversations with New Smyrna Speedway all the time. How can we get some of those drivers to come on over one Saturday night? What can we do to get the trucks on the racetrack? So that, but there's conversations on getting different cars and different vehicles on the racetrack. But Josh, I don't think laying pavement down on that facility is the right move. I
Right.
think they did that once at a time that was really important for this county, but we're really blessed in our county to have three of the best, my opinion, three of the best motorsports facilities in the country, and it's not very often you have three in one county.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with New Smyrna right down the road, you don't need another half mile asphalt track.
Yeah, and they do a great job. They really do.
Yeah.
I give Rusty and June and that whole team, Holly, they do a great job over there, up and down the board.
All right. So how involved are you with the kart track? And I'm not even sure if that still goes on a regular basis. I haven't heard much, but how involved are you with that operation?
We do. So in May, just to kind of give you a background, full scope, in May we put a draft of our yearly schedule together, which includes Dirt Car Nationals and Sunshine Nationals in January and February, kicking off with Bike Week. A couple of years ago we had the motorcycles. We're always trying to get the American Flat Track back. That's a great event for us. But I like to be around 50 or so dates between Dirt Car Nationals and our local racing program, and then also the go-kart program. Mike Hunter and his family did a tremendous job on the go-kart track when they were running it, which kind of put me in a tough spot a little bit because they did such a great job and the expectation is really high over there. But our team that does the big track runs events over at the go-kart track as well. Right now we're in a little bit of a bind with scheduling, so we're trying to figure that out this week. Staffing and everything. Again, these are family friends that come out, work at the racetrack because they love the racetrack, and we try and get better every time. But right now we are running the go-kart track. It has become challenging in the sense where the purses are sometimes, I know Brandon, you guys talked about it a little bit a while back, but the purses for go-kart racing now is insane. And I don't know where that came from, because go-kart racing in central Pennsylvania, Maryland, Northeast is totally, it's not about money. Go-kart racing is about getting a trophy, but it's just evolved so much over the last couple of years. It's not a bad thing, but I think from a manufacturer, family, keeping it affordable, how do we look at maintaining and not continuing to, raise that purse every year? Because if we continue to raise the purses from the trackside, we're going to raise the ticket prices, which are going to hurt you guys and your families, and then we're not going to be racing. And so I think there needs to be a really, a happy medium somewhere. And I've had conversations with WKA and manufacturers, tire guys. It's tough because, the more you race, the more money you put into it, the more cars you get, more tires you sell, more tire prep you sell, more concessions you sell. And sometimes that works, but there's also times where it doesn't work because of a number of different things. But it's a challenge for sure. And I when I said that I wanted to do this go-kart track, I was not going to be like the other tracks who have $500,000, $1,500 purses and charge you $100 for a parking spot. I don't charge you $75 to get in. It's a $35 entry fee and a $10 ticket, and your parking is free, and that's really important for me. And if you want to go race for that $1,500 paycheck, and that's great, go right ahead, because I want our track and our facility to be a family affordable place. I don't need to have those kind of races where go-karters are making more than our 3/4 modifieds and thunderstocks each Saturday night.
Mhm. Well, and I think what is crazy about the go kart, you talk about how it's not about the trophy anymore; it's about money. And I think something that's crazy is the fact that week to week, if you don't crash or wreck or tear anything up, it costs more to run a go kart week to week than it does a stock car.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah,
insane to me to think that you spend more money on a go kart than you do a stock car. Granted, it's a lot more expensive to build a stock car, but the week to week cost has just gotten out of hand.
yeah. And I think too, right? Our go-kart track. One of the things that we do is we give everyone who enters to race. We give them a voucher to come over to the big track. I want families to, I love the way the go kart track is positioned. I want our families who are out there racing on the go kart track, maybe young Brianna or young Joey, um, take a look at turn 4 of the big track. Maybe one day, you know, you'll get that aspiration to progress in your career, in your motorsports career, and go race at a big track.
Mhm.
I was talking with Dustin Carter the other day. He's doing racing or driver experience laps over at Daytona. He has aspirations to continue his career. And I think that's awesome. I think there's a ton of opportunity, and the racetrack teaches us a lot, not only about hard work and work ethic, but also about life. There's some real opportunity for self development at the racetrack, and I think that if I can help make that a better place, that's my goal, and that's what I'd love to do.
Yeah, and like you said, the position does work out great. I remember being a kid running the Florida Champ Kart League over there, and you'd start to see the stock cars come in on open trailers and kind of, well, what's going on over there? And it did pique our interest of wanting to go over there and see what's going on at the big track.
Yeah, we'll tell Larry to turn the lights on every once in a while over there, just so I can see.
Oh man. So talk to us about Speed Week's preparations. What's that like? How long does that take for
All year long.
you?
Uh, it's Speed Weeks is so fun. I think that's the word that I go to. Not only do we see the best in the business and racing, but we see a lot of our friends. We see a lot of people in the industry come down, and it is so much fun to pack the grandstands. It might not be the world's sexiest job, but that Saturday night um, in February here, where we had the largest attended crowd at Volusia Speedway Park for a sprint car race. We ran out of parking. I was in the back with the parking guys in the campground, parking cars in between campers, because I wanted to make sure everyone got in. And that was just so much fun, right? It's crazy, no doubt about it. Um, but it's a year-long planning process. Some really smart people in the room, some really great people. And my job is to continue that relationship within our county, within our state, working with local officials, the health department, making sure we built a little city right off Highway 40 for 3 weeks, and that's so cool. There's one of the most I've been a part of a lot of big events, from NFL, college football, NCAA tournaments to major NASCAR events, and there's no event like Dirt Car Nationals and Speed Weeks. We're blessed to have some great partners with Federated and Federated Auto Parts. Our Sunshine Nationals is a great event to kind of give us a taste, get us into that. I think that's really important. Get everyone kind of off of the couch a little bit after Christmas, and end up end of college football season. but it's just so much fun, Josh. Yeah, it's a year-round process of planning. It's really going to get picked up here in a few weeks, and we'll really be into it.
Awesome. So I got a couple theories about this, but as a street stock driver, I'd like to know why we're not on the schedule anymore. I get it. It was pretty low car
Yeah,
count, but you're the
yeah,
guy to ask for the
yeah,
reason.
yeah. I mean, candidly, there were two reasons, and obviously the first is car count is really tough. I don't have on our
Everybody
calendar.
races street stocks every weekend.
And what I learned was I don't have on my calendar a marquee street stock event. I have a marquee UMP event. I have a marquee late model event with Great Racing USA in January and the Sunshine Nationals. And I'm trying to figure out where we could put those marquee events, right? For the street stocks at that time, we had last year seven to eight different divisions that wanted to race regularly. And obviously, I think we all know that we had a lot of rain last year, and it's just getting worse. I don't think we can ever fix that part. But instead of trying to maneuver dates, maneuver a schedule around, redirect, who's racing when, where, and how, that was the tough decision we made. I want to get a group together that is consistent, that's running at the racetrack consistently. And whether that's 4 divisions, whether that's 5 divisions, that's what I want, because I don't like that I go sometimes 3 months and I don't have one division racing, right? It's a challenge. And now with East Bay closing, that challenge has even presented itself again. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed the street stocks. When I called a couple drivers in the street stock division, I said, what do you race for? Well, we race for that big event at over here. We consistently want to get better over here. So that way we're ready to go. But yeah, that was, it wasn't easy. That's for sure. But also to create stability, affordability, and consistency with our local racing program, it was what we had to do.
Right. Yeah. Well, I can tell you with East Bay closing, there's a lot of street stock guys that are trying to figure out where we're going to go next year. Kind of on the point you was talking about, drivers like to go to tracks that have big events. Case in point, I do want to make it up to Alltech some more because they have a 10,000 win race for us, and same thing with Hendry County. But yeah, if you had a big street stock event, I would definitely do everything I could to be there and get cars over there. I just finally got a gear this year for that track.
it would be great, right? But then we'd be going in the same direction. Say we take a couple months off or some time off in the winter or the summer. I'm sorry, because of staffing and other racing obligations for our company. I don't race a whole lot in October and September. And November, where I would love to, but because of some other obligations, we have to send equipment, we have to send staff to our company's marquee event. And that's a challenge because, like I said, I want to race every Saturday night. I think we all know that, and it's not always sunrises and butterflies over here. It's not.
No.
Yeah, I wanted to race every Saturday until I became the car owner and realized how expensive and how much work it is. So with the World Finals coming up and the Short Track Championships coming up, is there a dirt class or World Racing Group class that's similar to a Cruiser Street Stock that you know of? Because we've been trying to figure that out for a while now.
Yeah, that's another interesting one. And we're blessed to have Great Racing USA. I think it's great that there's individuals who have taken ownership of something. But if please correct me if I'm wrong. That's a fairly new item in the last 10 years. I mean, it used to be one late model class,
right?
And I almost at times would like to see what that would have looked like. There's times where I want to run just 604s and 602s together and be able to put street stocks back on the schedule. But because we have to split them up, it creates a little bit of a challenge. But on the dirt car racing side with crate racing, I don't have the exact answer at the moment. I believe that there's always that conversation of how do we grow and continue to better our sport. But also sometimes too, Josh, the more chiefs you have in the room, you can get a little tricky.
Yeah, for
You know?
sure.
So
Yeah, we just Brandon's headed up for Charlotte, and I was trying to figure out what class I would run in, and I couldn't find rules for anything, so I wasn't sure what my car would fit into.
well, Josh, let's connect afterwards, and I'll make sure that we get you the information that we need to get for you. Okay?
Okay, awesome. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
So I know we talked about tire dope on the go-kart side, but have you ever thought about just letting it go on the cars, the stock car side?
No, not at all. Not at all. Uh,
Yeah.
and here's the funny thing with that. One, obviously, it's not environmentally friendly for anybody to breathe any of that stuff. And again, we want to provide a fair and equal opportunity for all the drivers who, and again, they're drivers. They're not kids. They're not ladies. They're drivers. Everyone pays the same bills, has the same tires. And I think that's really important. But it's you want to have some integrity. You want to have a equal, fair opportunity. One of the things that I love from the driver's side, everyone's like, "Oh, are you tire sampling this week? Are you doing that?" And it's like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it, but why are you so concerned about it? It makes me want to say, what are you putting on your tires? If you're asking about it, you probably have something somewhere." And so I think it's interesting, from the driver's side, I get asked some weird stuff. And it's like, well, are you doing something you probably shouldn't be doing? Are you trying, everyone's trying to push the envelope to the edge to make sure that they can just try and find that 10th of a second somewhere. But yeah, I don't think there will ever be a day that we race, at least at Volusia, where you open up the gates for tires.
Well, I know
So
on one side of it, Al, the owner of East Bay, said that it took a lot of stress off of him to just let it go and not worry about it. But with the Gary and D-Game Memorial we just had, a lot of traveling guys didn't want to come down because it was an open tire race. And as soon as we, said, "Hey, we're doing tire testing," the entries just flooded in. So it's kind of a two-edged sword right there.
Absolutely, it is. But again, you want to look at your integrity of your facility and the program that you want to run. I mean, Al can open up the gates for tire doping, but then what? You can only run that set of tires over there. You can't run them now at our track. So I just think everyone has the opportunity to do what they want, run a program the way they want. I like to try and get in and out for you guys, so that way everyone's home by 10 a.m. or 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Or at least, we're closing the doors up around then. But you're absolutely right, Josh. It takes the stress off. You don't got to worry about it. But then on the flip side, the drivers who want that fair and equal opportunity, that maybe can't afford the tire dope, maybe that can't and don't, can't get into that game, they're not going to come race with you because they don't have a chance. And I want everyone to have an opportunity.
Right.
yeah, and there's definitely a lot of questions going on, especially this year, Anthony. We take tire samples almost every race, right? And the biggest question is the guy's like, "Oh, where's the results? Where's the results?" Why? And everybody wants to know, why doesn't VSP post the results?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I've shared this with some individuals and some who have asked. Every driver spends their last dime to get to the racetrack if they needed to. This is their getaway. This is their happy place. This is the place where you work really hard to get away from the 9 to 5. And I want you guys to be happy. What I don't want is to have negative conversation. And there's a lot of that at times, but there's way more positive conversation. And so I would hate, Brandon, if you went out, you ran a great race, week later, Brandon Yates failed tire samples, plastered all over social media. Social media is a forum. It's a conversation piece. It's not where business needs to be conducted. My door at Volusia Speedway Park is always open. My phone's always on me. And if someone wants to see or know those results, normally takes about a week for me to get them back, and I'm more than happy to share those. We try to address a little bit in the drivers meeting, but I think the best answer to know what's going on with the tire samples is just look around who might not be at the racetrack the next week, right?
Yeah.
When I got here, the penalty for a failed tire sample was 60 days. That's not right, in my opinion, for a local racing. So I made it where it's one race. You give me you pay the fines, you pay the money back, and then we move on. But yeah, I'd hate to have the negative conversation because you got sponsors, Josh. You got sponsors, people that you got to answer to. There's people that are help funding your bill for the fuel to get to the racetrack, and for me to put them on social media, that's an easy way to have that conversation. But for me, that's not where I want to conduct business. To have that conversation. Does that help answer that question for you, Brandon?
Oh, I definitely agree, man. I definitely agree. Another good question guys have had this year. We VSP is very big on not having sticks or having one of your crew guys go to the front stretch and hang out between that window of victory lane. Say a guy's leading the race, wins the race, scales right, but you saw one of his guys on the front stretch with sticks. What as a GM, what do you do?
Well, the first thing that we're doing is we're looking at putting a fence up on the front stretch, much taller fence. So we're having those conversations, figuring out what that looks like. The back stretch, I can understand but I need safety is most important for us. And I had a long conversation with numerous drivers about the safety of, like, do not get out of your vehicles on the racetrack because you just don't know. You never know what is in the mind between the helmet. So safety is really important for me. So I got to put a fence up. I got to get a much taller fence to make sure that if anyone were to ever have an incident coming off of turn 4, a tire gets loose, people in the infield are at least protected. There's a barrier there. 2, I need to have people speak up. I can't take action. Robert, our race director, can't take action if we don't see it. And so I always ask the drivers, help us help you. If you see something that you want to be better, I can't do anything if I don't know about it. When I first got here, I had no idea the scales were heavy or light. They were old, that's for sure. So we got new ones. I want to make sure that if something comes up in conversation or if someone has a concern, we at least listen. That's the first thing we should be doing anyways. But also, let's try and find a solution. And maybe you might have that solution. Maybe someone else has a solution, but let's at least talk about it. It's tough, Brent. There's so many things. Like there's plenty of dark spots on the facility. There's plenty of things up in the pit that we don't see all the time. And having a large facility like we do, and we're blessed to have it, it can't be everywhere at one time. And that's the challenge. It really is. But if you guys see something, the best thing you can do is say something. I might not be able to fix it that night. It's probably going to, sting. You're probably not going to be happy and tell me to go, find a hole. But I can get better. Our team can get better the next night, right? We try and work. Larry and his team work so hard to give you guys the best racing surface that you can, because I don't want you guys. Sorry, Benny's. I don't want you guys spending money at Benny's every week for a new set of tires. I want you guys to keep coming back.
So now, so obviously, say you see it, right? You see that person do it wrong.
There's things I see, but I also, Brandon, have to trust my staff to make a decision too. I can't just make every decision, and I wouldn't be a very good GM if I did. I have a lot of staff. I got a lot of great people who've been around the racetrack, and I want them to make some decisions as well. I'd like some input, but when I don't want to get into the business of overstepping our race director, overstepping our competition folks, because I might not see something that they see or know.
So what is the penalized? Do they get DQ'd and thrown out, or do they just get a slap on the wrist?
I would say there's times where it's both.
Yeah,
There's times where it's
yeah.
both.
But
9 out of 10 times, I want to keep people coming back. I don't want to, that's a tricky thing in track business too. You want to keep everybody happy. And I might as well forget about that. No one's ever happy.
yeah,
But that's the goal. And if we can show that we're listening and trying to improve, right? No one's full time. This isn't, people's livelihoods. This is their Saturday night because they love racing on my team. But I want my team to be engaged. I want them to see things, come up with solutions. And I think we do a really good job. We can always do a better job, but I want them to know that, okay, I can penalize this driver because it's in black and white. I don't need to go through Anthony. This is what's going to happen.
All right.
And I think that's fair. I think it's fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
and I think it's funny. You brought up the scales. I kind of laugh when these guys go, "Oh, I'm light. Your scales are wrong," and I go, "No, man. I weigh 2,500 pounds. I've been 100 pounds overweight for the last 2 years. These scales are right. Like, no, man. You're just light. It is what it is."
Yeah. And it's, maybe I need to do a better job of, maybe we need to get the rules in the driver's hands a little bit better. We're working on improving that aspect to make it a little bit easier to read for everybody. But when you pull into a facility, you're going by what the facility does. It's not by what you do at home. You're going by the track rules. You're going by the scales that we provide. It's funny. Little insight. I had a driver last year try to sue us because we didn't have certified state scales, and I was like, "Here's the documentation, guy. Like, what do you?"
That's crazy.
It was fun. So,
Oh man.
but yeah, I mean, I'm all for making it as easy as possible for you guys. We try to. We're gonna make some announcements here coming up. We're gonna open up a little bit earlier next weekend. We got practice Friday night. There's, let me talk about that for just a moment. Practice. Everyone wants to practice. I want to race, and I know that there's people out there that can afford it. I know there's people who can afford to risk blowing up their engine or another set of tires. What is forgotten, and this is always, Larry and I go back and forth about this. If we run a practice on Thursday night or Friday night, or if I rent the facility out to somebody for a couple $1,000s, there's so many factors that can go into that. And it's just, it's life. You run the risk. And for me, the risk of having a practice doesn't satisfy my reward of racing on a Saturday night, because I don't have any fans in the stands on a practice night. And so I'd hate to have a beat up racetrack for you guys. The grader might break. The lights might not turn on. There's so many things that could go on, right? But I also want you and your teams to acknowledge the nights that we do have practice, because everyone says you guys don't practice. Well, there's a couple dates on the calendar where it says practice, so we do. But I want you guys to spend your monies on racing, not practicing. That might be selfish of me to say, but I think as I talk to other promoters across the country, they're not really opening up just for practice. Yeah, every once in a while it's important, but they'd rather fill the seats and get people there to have racing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know, just talking with Al a little bit, it costs X amount of dollars to turn the lights on, whether it's a practice night or if it's a race night, it costs the same to
Yeah.
operate the facility. So,
Yep.
um,
And I'd rather have a practice where it's $25 and you guys come in, do your thing, and you're not wasting your time. I'm not wasting my time. It's beneficial for everybody.
right.
Yeah.
Which we know you got a big weekend coming up here. I know you mentioned a little bit of working with crews. I haven't seen what classes y'all have. Are y'all also running the 604 late models this weekend, or just 602s?
Yeah, so I got all 5 divisions this weekend. So we got 604, 602s, Thunders, UMPs. This used to be a 2-day event, and it just didn't. Between rain, scheduling, other racetracks wanting to do something, and having a 2-day show is a juggernaut. It's not ideal all the time, but what I will say is, we have a really good group of staff that we can make it work. There's no doubt about that, but running a 1-day show is just so much easier than a 2-day show. You don't got to worry about getting the same amount of fans back both nights.
Mm-hmm. I hear you there. I can tell you from a driver's standpoint, the 2-night shows are a lot of fun, especially the ones where you qualify and heat race on the first night and then feature on the second night. It turns into a pretty big party in the pit, so it is a lot of fun for us.
Oh, yeah.
So getting back onto the tech side of things, tell us about your tech man. Who is he? Is he Crate Racing USA certified? Tell us about him.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said earlier, every track is different, and every event is a little bit different. Where it gets interesting and sometimes difficult from the driver's seat is knowing who is what, right? So, like, for instance, you go to Needmore, and I'm just throwing this out there, or Golden Isle. Just because you got a Golden Isle T-shirt on may not mean that you work for Golden Isle, or maybe because you got a Crate Racing shirt on, you may not work for them. So, moral of the story is, because I only have a couple of Crate Racing events, and those normally take place in January. That's when we have Crate Racing officials.
Okay.
What I do with my tech guys is I give them, again, they have full-time jobs. One's a business owner, Brian. He's a business owner. And one used to tech at New Smyrna. If you guys remember, a couple of years ago, we probably had a pretty decent tech guy, and he got left. When I got here, we didn't really have a tech guy. It's been a thorn in my side for the last 2 years, and that's okay. It's a challenge, which I love. So I am by no means are our guys perfect, but what I love about our guys, I absolutely love this about them. Brandon, no offense. Josh, no offense. They have no idea who you guys are. They have no idea who you are. And that gives them the ability to be equal.
Mm-hmm.
Go to another racetrack and tell me that another tech official that does not even know who you are. So it gives everyone the opportunity to have equal, fair say. No understanding of, I know him from a relationship over there, but
takes the bias out of it.
It does, and that's so important from my view. But certifications are great. What I think, Josh, is the struggle, and where we all can improve is you can't get better if you don't, and the drivers too. You can't get better if you don't go out and do it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes these rainstorms hinder us a little bit. But I will share this with you. I've gone with our tech officials to engine shops, shops where they're building cars. We've looked at springs. We've educated. We've had conversations about it. When the World of Outlaws and our dirt car officials are here in February, they're standing right next to them, seeing what's going on, having conversation, learning, getting better. And, it's just like me. Like, if I were to try and go drive a race car today, I'd probably spin it out. Right. So it's give and take. Again, I try really hard to give everybody equal opportunity. Yeah, there's a couple things we could probably do better on there in that tech department. Are we going to? Again, I can't be there to do it myself, but we have the conversations and we're getting better. I'll tell you that much. We're getting a lot better, but the drivers and the families need to understand. I ask that they give them a little bit of grace. Like you said the other night, Brandon, or earlier, Brandon, they were light at the scales. Okay, you're light. Um, if you have a question, there's a 10-minute protest period. Have a bag of cash ready to go, and we can go through that process if someone wants to protest. I'd like to do it, without 10 people around me. I think that also makes it difficult, right? You got a lot of people who's got a lot of opinions. That's fine. It's passionate. I get it. But let's have that conversation. Let's just not, start yelling at somebody because someone thinks, someone's got a wrong chain on their gear, or, their spring's not right, or the engine's cheating. People tell me this all the time. I know he's cheating. All right, here's the keys. Go be the tech person. Stop driving. If you think he's cheating, why aren't you doing it? You're the expert, apparently. There's just a lot of opinions. I love opinions, but I also love respect for people. And I try to give everybody a fair, equal opportunity, which is important. I mean, you guys bust your tail to get your cars ready. I mean, Brandon, how many hours you spend on that late model just trying to get the mud off of it?
That shit done. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, those are things that I think of.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Another thing these guys are wanting they want answered, of course, is since you don't have a cruiser tech, man,
Mm-hmm.
um, to say a man came up said, "Yo, I want that guy's motor. I want to send it off."
Yeah.
Y- So we personally would have to take our motor out, give it to you to send off, correct?
That is part of the process. Obviously, when it comes to our local events, I'm going to do everything that we can on our end to make it easy for you guys, but I can't do everything. I don't have a $1 million trailer full of tools that comes around and travels and has everything, right? I'm going to do my best to make it easy for everybody. I'm going to help you, but yeah, we'll take that engine, we'll take it out, and then we'll send it out, and we'll get it. We'll get a professional, someone who looks at engines. I have that relationship with that individual already, and that's established. But we'll make sure we get you guys what you want. I hate doing that in the sense that because of our economics of motorsports and the cost of just fuel alone, I'd rather drivers take that extra cash, families take that extra cash and reinvest it into just getting better in their vehicles. Go get yourself another spring. Go get yourself another set of tires or something. We're not going to win every night. I mean, I think he's a great young driver. I'm going to call him out. Cale Van Sickles won from the lead a lot of times. What did he do last Saturday night? He didn't really pass a whole lot of cars. Was he cheating? I don't know. He didn't pass anybody. So some nights we just got to remember that someone might just have it really hooked up and be really good.
And a lot of guys, they're in the comments, can't take it apart. But to answer these guys' questions, there's also other things VSP can tech without going internally into the motor.
And
Number one's tires, right? We always check tires. We can check shocks. Make sure a driver doesn't have double adjustables or whatever class you're in. Period. You can check spacers. You can check carburetors. You can check suspension components. Stuff like that. To answer these guys' questions, that's what VSP can check, and I guarantee they have. If they don't have the tools, we have 3/4 winches at the trailer that we can grab for them, and we can take it off for them.
well, and I think too, I just having a conversation about it. Tech is not easy. It's not easy. You go and try and find somebody who is equal, who has no affiliations, who knows a little bit about what they're doing, and also who wants to come get yelled at by Brandon on a Saturday night for not doing something or his racing actions, right? No one
Yeah.
wants to get yelled at. No one likes that stuff. And that's where, again, my message today is let's just be a little bit more compassionate and be a little bit more respectful, right? Everyone's paying the same bills on the racetrack to be out there, and there's a rule book. It's black and white, and just admit some nights you're not hooked up. You're gonna have someone who, like a Seth Geary, who just is smooth. Garrett Stewart, he can get out of the UMP and go into a late model, and he's just smooth. There's drivers that are just, I hate to say it, it's going to hurt some people here, but they're just a little bit better. Doesn't mean they're cheating. They're better, right?
And
And
yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. A lot of people said Tim Gay cheats a lot in the street stock class, and I could tell you, just watching him, the dude's just good. I
yeah,
don't know what to tell you.
it's not easy for us to say. It's not easy, if I'm putting myself in the driver's shoes. It's not easy to admit that I just don't have it. I probably should be doing it, or I'm trying to get better, and let's focus on that instead of, I see this all the time. I got new drivers out there, and especially in the UMPs, you got to really finesse it a little bit with the clutch or the throttle and the tires, and I got drivers out there, they just fucking hammer it down. Instead of understanding the racetrack, understanding where the bumps are and how you got to get your wheel set up at the right time and getting better. They just say someone else is cheating. It's like,
I know the comment in here definitely said, what about seals?
yeah,
I
seals
have
are, yeah, seal, and that's just, it's crazy how, I mean, it's gotten so far. Again, we didn't have this 10 years ago. We're now at the point where people are making seals, putting stickers on them, like they're making fake seals. And so I've had a number of conversations with Chance and Crate Racing USA about this. They're working really hard on it. They understand that it's an issue. It does need to be public. When you get your seals from your engine builder, it needs to be a public forum, um, in some capacity. Probably not Facebook, right? But having a catalog of all the seals. I mean, I would not want that job. That spreadsheet is probably so big, with all the numbers. But the fact that we're out there making these fake seals is crazy to me. But my tech guys, they check the seals. Do they check them every night? If they've seen you a couple times, right, they're probably going to check once and maybe come back to it, go to something else. But I have the ability to send out any numbers and collect seals, and we do have that opportunity. Yes.
Of course, for our listeners, VSP, when we give them our seal numbers, they will send them to Crate Racing USA and they will tell them who built it and to make sure the seals are right. So,
Here's the respect I have for Crate Racing USA. It was that Saturday night, the mud track. It was tough, right? I sent out some seal numbers to Chance, and he got back to me within 10 minutes, past midnight. And that's the level of dedication that I think is missed. Like, we on the track side, and this is every track owner, I believe, and promoter, we try our best to get you guys the answers in a timely manner. And it's yeah, it's a thankless job sometimes, but the challenges and the opportunities are what I love.
I mean, as a driver, man, I don't know why this year there's a lot of, what is it, BS, kind of. um, that Listen, the tire samples I really care less about because first off, if you're doping tires at Volusia Speedway Park, you are wasting your time. That track is already hammered down. It has a nice line of rubber, and you're just gonna be locked down and slow, point blank. Period. Um, I think the main thing people they want is more more teching than just tires. and which we all know that. We all talked about it. The
Yeah.
biggest thing is, guys, as a driver, you got to contain your crew. You cannot have 10 people in tech yelling at the tech guy, because if not, he's just gonna say, "Okay, everybody's good," because he's not gonna deal with it. And I understand that. That's a hard role. I'd definitely be like him too. If you come up and yell at my face and talking some BS, I'll tell you go to the trailer and congratulations. So
Yeah, it's a challenge for sure, but I think maybe part of it this year is, um, I know everyone wants to race, and like I said, so do I. Um, Sometimes there's factors, there's scheduling, there's staffing. Running 50 plus dates a year is that's challenging, especially in the heat, uh, and late nights on Saturday nights. I don't want my staff to have to miss a wedding or miss a family event, but they do, just to come play with us on Saturday nights and get paid, like I said, 12.50, 13, whatever it is. Um, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into running a race, and I just hope in the coming years that as a sport we can say thank you and you're welcome a lot more, and lead with our hearts and not with our heads sometimes.
All right. So speaking of your staff, tell us a little bit more about them. Who's your race director, who's your announcer, and anybody else that you kind of want to shout out and give them some recognition.
Well, I don't want to name names, but I think we all know on the who's listening that they know who they are, and um, I think the part that I appreciate the most is that everyone is willing to not only just pick up the trash or help in the bathrooms or pick up a phone call. Everybody at our track is willing to do anything, and I think that just goes and speaks to the kind of people, um, that we have in our stable, and we're very blessed to have that. And as a driver, I would be ecstatic to have that, because you know if I'm a driver and I go to a track and they don't even, they give you your check at the end of the night after you turn your transponder in and don't even say thanks for coming, why would I want to come back? So I think our staff does all the little things, tremendous. Um, but it's I think everybody knows it. It's tough to find people. It's hard to get staff, and it's a hell of a lot easier to retain your staff and invest in the people that you have than try and hire new ones.
All right.
and just for everybody listening that races at VSP, uh, for some reason, a buddy of mine got out of his car and he shouldn't. They preach that in the drivers' meeting every week. So if you're listening and you race at Volusia Speedway Park, do not get out of your race car because you would be DQ'd.
And that's the hard part right there. Like, you're getting out of your car, and now you're going to get DQ'd after you've just spent all night working on it, trying to make it better, improving, and now you get DQ'd because you got out. I don't want to do that to anybody, but it's in black and white. We preach it.
So we have another question here.
Yeah.
Are you able to name the head tech man?
I would prefer not to. I believe that, the two guys that we have work really well together. I don't believe that there's just A B C distinction. They both bring different talents. They bring different skill sets and different backgrounds, and getting them to work together and understand the cars that we're working on, has been really good. We've come a long ways. Like I said, when I got here, we didn't really have a tech program. I think you know that, Brandon. We were just rolling you across the scales. They were probably already heavy, so you probably could have been 200 pounds light, in the beginning with those old scales. But we're getting better. It's a process. No, and people come out and work at our racetrack because they love what they do. It's not for what money they get.
Correct.
All right. So pick your brain a little bit here. Are there any rule changes you think might make a class better, maybe make it more affordable or more competitive? Anything that you've been thinking about that you'd like to see happen?
I mean, I go back and forth on this on the go-kart side. It's just how do we maintain? How do we maintain and still grow? But when you grow, that costs money. No, I don't think so, Josh. I'm really happy with where we're at because I don't believe you should be changing rules every year. I don't believe you should be uh, messing around with, different technical things every year. I mean, at the end of the day, as promoters and track owners, we need to make it affordable. We need to have a voice and continue to make it affordable, family fun for everybody. And that includes the drivers and our entertainers. You guys do a huge, you're a huge part of what we do. And to continue to change things, I don't think is, I think every once in a while, if you get enough people in the room. Last year, we made some changes to the 3/4 modifieds. I had enough people to say that they want to do this. And if it's a consensus across the group, now, don't get me wrong, you don't really race 3/4 modifieds in Alabama and up the East Coast. It's kind of a specialty, but I don't think you should be. If it makes sense, yeah, but it doesn't need to be. I don't want to go out and seek just to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We have a question here in the comments. What is the protest procedure? Is
It
what
is
they
in
want to know.
It is in the rule book. That rule book is posted on VolusiaSpeedwayPark.com under the general rule book. And if that person has any additional questions, my phone number's there.
And like you said, you have 10 minutes after the checker flag drops, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure we get that out there.
And here's the thing too, right? And I said this again. I don't want to get into being I want my staff to make decisions.
Yep.
But if you're getting told, if you feel so strongly about something and you want to continue the conversation after you're not satisfied, yeah, give me a call, find me. I mean, I'm there. If you're so passionate or so feel like you're not getting the right answer, I'm more than happy to try and help. But I can't. I have to support what my staff does. And again, we're not racing for $15,000, $20,000. We're racing for, what'd you say last week, Brandon? Or what was your third place check, second place check? $300.
300 buckaroos.
I'm trying to make that better for everybody, but I also don't want to raise prices on you guys. That's a big piece of what I spend time throughout the year working and looking at is, how do we get more money in your guys' pocket? At the end of the day, though, I don't get too encouraged to raise purses when shit's left all over the place in the pits. My staff's getting yelled at. Like, if you guys want nice things, we got to take care of the nice things that we have.
For sure.
Right. Another question we had, man, is why do we pay an extra $5 when Top Gun Sprint show up?
Yeah, I inherited that. That was something that was considered a special event. That person itself has changed with them changing their numbers or their engines. Next year, I'm looking to, and it's not just the drivers who get a pay change or a price change. I gotta fix that. That's high on my priority list to fix next year.
Correct.
Yeah. Great question.
And obviously, there's a lot of he said, she said going around, but obviously we couldn't race at Volusia Speedway Park without all the volunteers. So I want to personally thank y'all for busting your butts every week to give us a racetrack to race on.
I appreciate that, Brandon. Thank you. We really appreciate having you guys. and it's something we take a lot of pride in. I know there's not everybody leaves happy on a Saturday night, but that's my goal. That you come out, have a good time. Um, Dad spend some time with his son. You can learn so many life lessons at the racetrack, and there's so many positive things going on in the world of motorsports, um, that we have to cherish those moments and take advantage of those moments. And you know, like I tell people, if you're not happy and you come to me screaming and bitching, the highway goes east and west, and there's other racetracks that will gladly take your money. I want you guys to be happy. I really do. And I think that if you can be happy at the racetrack in a tense situation, just coming off of a hot race, you can get through a lot of things, and you can be a role model. We have a sign at the racetrack that says somewhere in the grandstands there's a young boy or girl up there that is looking up to our drivers that wants to be like you someday. And that's really important because you guys are the role models for the young people in the crowd. And I told that dad, if you're gonna bitch, scream, throw a cone, whatever, flip off everybody in the tower, why come out? There's so many young people that see our actions and think that that's okay, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. And that's why I wanted to come on here. I want to open up and let people know that I'm not just a guy who wears black polos every Saturday night. I like to have a good time. I love racing. I love sports. I love entertainment. I love people. If anyone ever wants to take me fishing, I'd love to go fishing. Like there's so much more to being, or so much more to life. I think, with last week's losses in our community, I think we can appreciate things a little bit more now.
10-4. I thought it was very cool that we did a little tribute in late models,
Yeah.
uh, to keep the starting pole position empty. I thought that was pretty cool and special. Um, Josh, you got any questions?
I got one last one here,
Yeah.
kind of a funny question, kind of a hypothetical. So we know that with about a day's worth of work, I could put my 500 horsepower street stock engine in Brandon's late model, and I'd like to know your reaction to us showing up with that in the 602 class.
Go right ahead. Go right
Uh, and
That'd be
if
funny.
you ask some people do think they have a big motor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, right? I have 602 guys that run with 604 engines, and I think it's awesome, right? Get that seat time, get that experience, because you never know when you're not going to have it. But also, um, like you got to have some balls to get out there and do that.
Right.
Yeah.
You're fighting people with more horsepower, and some of them, if they're hooked up, they're hooked up.
Yeah, we have another question in the comments. How about safety issues with tear-offs and allowing a helmet change or additional tear-offs for drivers?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I know it came up, and my response to that is I try my best. I wanted everyone to see why. Uh, there's times where we just got to cancel. It is just too fucking wet. Um, there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there that think they know how to run a racetrack and run a grader. We missed our window Saturday. That was it, the 10th. I think it was the 10th. We missed our window. We missed our window to cancel. Timing wasn't right. Rain came at the wrong time. Track was fine before 2:30 or so. But when I got people coming from Tampa, it's tough. Yeah, we shouldn't have raced. But you guys would have lost your noggins. I mean, it would have been terrible. So I give you guys a playground to play on, and I give you a facility to race at. I do think safety is very important. It is the most important. But it is not my responsibility, nor my track official's responsibility to tend to the driver. when it is a driver's responsibility to take into effect all the conditions that are going on that night, take into account who they're racing, where are they lining up. It is the driver's responsibility to have a clue of what's going on, have some responsibility for themselves. I'm not going to stop my show, my event, because someone didn't put enough tear offs on their helmet. They don't like that answer. They don't like that answer. But it is the driver's responsibility to make sure that they have the proper safety equipment.
So, for instance, I've seen it a couple times. What if a yellow comes out and a guy goes to your turn one guy and goes, "Hey man, I need a helmet." Now, the question is, are you going to penalize him because one of our guys gave him the helmet, or are we going to say, "No, sir, you just got to pull off the racetrack"?
I'm going to leave that to. I'm going to support what my race director decides. But if I was the race director and the information was given while coming into the infield, I got a pretty compelling story that that they did the right thing.
Yeah.
But also where it gets challenging for you guys is, yes, you may be looking out for the self-interest for you,
Mhm.
but I got to deal with all the other phone calls. And I open up the door of, well, you did this for her, you did that for him, and how come I'm not getting that opportunity? And it's just a fucking can of worms. So I may have to make a decision, and again, support my race director for being a non-driver friendly, but I'd rather deal with one or two than a whole fucking warrior of them,
Yeah.
whole bunch of drivers. And right, we talked about it earlier, being equal for
Mhm.
everybody. If I let you switch out your tire and still get your position, I got to do that for everybody else. And
Yeah.
that's a nightmare.
Correct.
So I think that's, we go back, we had the conversation a little bit ago about respect, driver responsibility, showing of our actions. And again, if you don't like that decision as a driver, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to open up the can of worms where, well, he said, she said, you did this. How come we can't do that? It's tough. It's very tough. Like I love our drivers. I have a lot of respect for you guys because I would not want to come out of turn two sometimes, and that sun's coming down on you. I would not want to do that. But I also have the responsibility to make the best decision, not just for you that night at that time. I have to make the decision for tomorrow, the next day, the next year. The consistency is what gets us through our shows and our programs, and it honestly helps keep the peace.
Correct. And as we know, guys, if you come down pit road, you are going to the rear. Under yellow, you are going to the rear of the field. And I think the main question for these guys was, I've seen it done. I don't care. That was a long time ago. If, like I said, if we stop by the corner worker, will they be penalized? And I think the answer is yes, guys. You probably are going to be penalized because, for one, but as a fact, as a driver too, me, Josh can back me up. We can only put so many tear offs on, right? Correct. And as a driver, you just got to be very selectful. How you going to pull those tear offs to get to the front?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Brandon and Josh, you guys have been racing at the track. It's not always like that. It was just
No.
it was a tough night. We were trying to get a show in for you guys. It's not always like that. It really isn't.
So I got a
Yeah,
couple quick.
and
Go ahead,
and I
bud.
think too. I think too. Also, like if you look at the Board of Outlaw series, imagine if the series catered to the drivers for that. they would lose their minds probably.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and to offer those drivers a little bit of an option, Race Car sells the little tab stubs, whatever, for tear
Right.
offs that are extra tall. I think they're advertised 30 or 40 tear offs, which 90% of the time you're not going to need 30 or 40 tear offs. So
Yeah.
just something to give people something to think about there.
I also
Yeah.
carry a rag with me all the time, just in case I pull them off on the first lap. At least I have something to wipe it off.
That's a great suggestion.
I got a couple fast questions for you, Anthony, before we get you out of here, man. Who is your hero?
Hero is my grandfather. He passed away. He was a businessman in Detroit. He brought his family over from, well, his parents came over from Italy, worked in the Eastern market, and maneuvered his way to running multi-million dollar businesses. And he was just a great individual, family guy of faith. So it was a lot of fun growing up and spending the time that we did together.
So, Anthony, say you had the funds to race, right? And you're not a GM, you want to be a racer. What class would you be in?
Thunderstock. I want to beat Patrick Thomas so bad.
There you go.
And also, what
He's
would you
great.
what
They're
would
great. They're great people, but I just want to beat him one day.
and also what would you be your number on your race car and why?
Uh, I got two numbers. So in the go kart that we had growing up was 19,
Hmm.
um, but my number would probably be 55.
And what's the reason behind 55?
It's my birthday, Cinco de Mayo.
Okay.
Alrighty,
Yeah.
alrighty.
So
Um, and if you wasn't at the racetrack, where would you be?
probably right behind me. I spend a lot of time just trying to detox and relax. I read a lot. I learn a lot. And I have a rock star of a companion, and so whenever we can get the time to get away from the realities and like you guys do and come to the racetrack, we're either on the beach or doing something together. But she's a rock. You guys might have seen her a couple times, but she comes out to the racetrack and loves it. And so yeah, just Kayla's, she's been awesome. We've moved. For those who might not know, we've moved 5 times in the last 4 years. So yeah,
Yeah.
And it is very hard to find a woman that loves what you do, especially in the racing community. So props to her for dealing with you.
yeah. She came out one time. I asked her. I was like, "Hey, I need some help in the concession stand." And she's like, "What do you need?" I was like, "Can you cook burgers?" And she's like, "Okay." And she absolutely loved it. So it's a good time.
Awesome. Josh, you got any more questions, man?
I think that's it for me on questions. I just want to thank you for coming on, man. Hopefully this helps people to get a better insight into you and Volusia, to get to know more about you, and hopefully we see some more people out at the racetrack.
Yeah,
And
I hope so too. And I'll just end on that. I'll also end. Um, I want to thank all the drivers who are listening as well. You and your families spend your discretionary income at the racetrack, not just Volusia, but all the racetracks. Um, we thank you from that end. You support us, and without you and your families, um, it's a team effort. And I think the word thank you is not said enough. Um, and so I really appreciate everybody. I hope that we can continue to work together in a civil conversation. Again, my door is always open. My phone number is available, and my phone's normally always on. Um, but I really hope that for a track that runs year round, and we're on the Mount Rushmore of racetracks at Volusia Speedway Park, I really hope our drivers can understand that our actions on and off the racetrack are a representation of the racetrack. Um, what you guys do, whether it's at work, whether at home, you're either wearing a hat, you're wearing a t-shirt, you're talking about it, and people are that's synopsis with what's going on. And if we can help make a difference in not only younger folks' lives, but also adults as well, and being respectful and having the opportunity to make that impact, and given that platform, not just to showcase your sponsors and have the opportunity to thank people in victory lane, but also to carry your head high and have a sense of pride. So I appreciate you guys very much, and I can't thank you guys enough. Every driver.
Well, Anthony, from me, man, I like to thank you. You definitely bust your butt. Um, of course, if we got questions, we come to you. You always answer them. Uh, man, some of these, I'm glad we did this. We got these answers for these people that have questions. I'm glad we got to know you a little bit more, get you a little bit more background. Um, man, that's all I got, man. Really, I just can't thank the Volusia staff. I also saw y'all went to Daytona, man. That's very awesome for the champions. That's a cool thing that Volusia does, man. Y'all definitely care about your racers.
Yeah, and it's a great program that, again, we're blessed to have three wonderful facilities in this county. And I hope it stays like that for a long, long time. And the fact that Daytona, and we have that collaboration is great. So yeah, yesterday or Saturday, yesterday was a great day for our drivers, and coming out there. So
All right, man. Josh, you got anything for Anthony before we get him out of here?
No, that's it. Like I said, just appreciate you coming on.
appreciate it, guys. We'll see you at the racetrack this Friday night. Practice is going to start at 6. Pits will probably open around 4 or so. Practice till 9. And then Saturday, we're going to have some announcements coming up about Saturday. Big purses, a little bit more purses for everybody. And we're going to continue to do our best, and we'll see everybody at the racetrack.
All right, Anthony, man. We'll see you next weekend.
Take care,
Sounds
guys.
Yeah. All right, guys. That was the GM of VSP, man. That was a good episode. I definitely like that.
for sure,
Um,
man.
yeah, man. We definitely got a lot of questions answered, and let's uh let's get the show on the road, man. Josh, you got anything to add before we close this thing out?
Just shout out my sponsors: Barstow Transportation, Multi-Roll, Permanent Diesel Solutions, LaRoche Record Service, Fatback Racing Engines, Boyd Fabrication. We just got the car finished up, rewrapped, and got a couple more things to get ready. But then we'll be back in action Friday night. Practice out at East Bay for the battle at the beach with Cruiser.
Awesome, man. Uh, I'm going to Volusia for Labor Day, man. I got these great sponsors: RCP America, been with me forever. All Gas Pros, Mr. Lehman, he's been on our car for about 2 years. We got to thank Finney. We got to thank Adam use all the parts. We got to thank the family, man. Got to thank the wife. Got to thank the Carl podcast, man. Without this, I don't know what's going on. I got to thank the fans for the love we get, the questions we get, and the opportunities we get with these guests to give you more understanding of what is going on in their life also, and how it is to run a racetrack. So with that, man, we have. Oh, I gotta thank Candace Keeley. She has been with me forever. I can't thank her enough. She does way more than she has to, uh, and she definitely does way more than she has to for racing. Period.
Mhm.
So our next episode, man, we will have a special guest again. September 8th, we will have Chance Smith. Uh, he is with Kart Racing USA, and I believe he runs Nemore now.
Mhm.
So should definitely be a exciting episode, guys. Send your questions for that
Yeah,
guy.
should be another good one, another very informational episode.
So, all right, man, let's get out of here.
Sounds good, buddy.